Welcome to the show today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been told a lot that people are so encouraged and impressed at how young I started being a voice for the unborn. Gave my first speech on abortion at 18 years old, started a pro-life club at Westmont College in Santa Barbara, California at 19 years old, and probably started actually giving public speeches at around 19. I'm 30 now. And, people always say, that's so incredible. You were so young at 18, 19. All I could think about was fast cars and girls. And yet, being in the pro-life movement full time, I meet all of these people now who are way more engaged in being a voice for the unborn at 12, 13, 14, 15 than I was at 18. And now there are Students for Life clubs on high school campuses, some junior high campuses. And we have some incredible people here at my home church at Godspeak Calvary Chapel in Thousand Oaks, California, where I worship and where we're recording out of now because of my wonderful Pastor Rob McCoy, who are involved in sidewalk counseling and post-abortion healing and mentor families and orphan foster care. And we have families that come together and participate in these prayer walks and sidewalk counseling with their children. And so we have some wonderful friends here in the studio today that I wanted to introduce you to and just hear their story, because stories are so incredibly powerful and moving, especially when you see God's redemptive work through those stories and through those families. And so these are my friends Amanda and Cheyenne. I think their story is just going to bless you and fire you up. And we have mutual friends like Betsy Gray, who's co-founding Pro-Life Bank with Nick Vujicic. And Betsy Gray was basically my spiritual mother and the director of Santa Barbara's Pregnancy Resource Center when I was a student at Westmont College in Santa Barbara. And so Betsy and I have been friends for over a decade. And Amanda and Cheyenne have an incredible story that ties in with Betsy Gray and the Pregnancy Center in Santa Barbara, California, and now worship here with us at Godspeak Calvary Chapel. So buckle up. I think you're in for a treat. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation because it's going to give you hope for the church and hope for the next generation. I'm Seth Gruber, and this is Unaborted. Guys, welcome to the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, super pumped it could happen.
Yeah.
We were just at a party together with a bunch of Godspeak people, and your story is just so moving. You've told it before. You've told it at pregnancy center banquets, which really moved the hearts of donors because it shows the evidence of God's faithfulness and how he works through these centers that are so important, especially right now with Roe v. Wade getting overturned and with the church sort of tiny, a little bit maybe waking up. These centers are on the front lines actually caring for unborn children primarily, but actually loving and pouring in the love of Christ to their parents and their mothers, who sadly today are the final decision maker. Fathers have no legal right to contend for the life of their child if that child's in the womb. It doesn't matter if it was consensual sex. It doesn't matter if that baby's half his. He has no right to defend that child. And so these centers pour the love of Christ into people like you. And so you're one of course, tens of thousands in America who made the right decision, the right choice. And now we celebrate the fruits of that choice. But we're friends, we go to the same church, and you guys are so involved in pro-life at our church. And so I wanted people to hear your story and God's faithfulness in your life, because I think it will encourage especially the older people who listen to this show who are wondering if there's hope for the next generation. And also the young people to see, like, I can be a voice for the unborn. Like I can defend life, and I can play an important role in my community. And if God chooses to use you bigger than your community, but everything starts local, and you guys are doing incredible work at the local level. So Amanda, why don't you introduce yourself, your daughter, and then I want you to share your story.
Yeah. So I'm Amanda Van Gundy, and this is my beautiful daughter.
I'm Cheyenne.
Yeah, and Cheyenne is, how old are you?
I'm 14.
14. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So my story begins when I was in college. I had an unplanned pregnancy.
And where at?
I was living in Santa Barbara.
Were you at UCSB? Or Santa Barbara City College?
I was at Channel Islands.
Oh,
so I was commuting, and I'm actually from the Bay Area. So
Okay.
I was new to Santa Barbara.
Okay.
So I didn't have a huge support system.
Yeah.
I find myself pregnant. I was raised in the church, in a Christian home, Christian values. And that's something, as I started working in pro-life, you come to find out 1 in 4 women have had an abortion, and many of them are in the church.
That's right.
And so there's a problem there, and I feel like that is why I wanted to start sharing my story and talking about it, and something that, we need to start talking about in our churches.
Yeah. Well, it's probably 30 or more, but 33, 34% of women who have an abortion identify as actually being regularly involved in attending at the church.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So women go silently from the pews to the abortion center, and the shepherds have nothing to say about it because they say we're not political. Meanwhile, the women in your church and the men in your church are involved in killing their children.
Yeah.
But we go to a church that's obviously the opposite of that.
Right.
So you were going to Channel Islands. You were living in Santa Barbara?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
So I met with the father, and he wanted me to get an abortion. And so something I recently read was that
and this was what, like 2004?
No, actually it was in 2007. She was born in 2008. Yeah. So I read recently that the biggest influencer on a woman's life is the father.
That's right.
And I know a lot of men, especially in the church, kind of don't want to say anything, but yet...
Right. It's a woman's issue.
Right. But
I'm pro-life, but we should defer to her voice.
Right. The father, it's 50% their child.
Yeah.
And 90% of their influence, whether the child lives or dies.
Right. Yep, totally.
And so,
and there's actually statistics that bear this out as well, Amanda. There was a study I talk about in the podcast sometime from the Guttmacher Institute, which is Planned Parenthood's statistical research branch.
Yeah.
If you know the name Guttmacher Institute, it's named after Alan Guttmacher, a former president of Planned Parenthood. So this is like a Planned Parenthood statistics, and they've done studies called Reasons U.S. Women Choose Abortion. And so this is just polling and data that they send to women. Why did you get an abortion? What chose it? What influenced your decision? And so one time I compiled all the various reasons people chose abortion. And they were categorized as like socioeconomic struggles. Like the woman was afraid. Of course, these questions aren't going to men; they're going to women, right? So questions like, "Why did you get an abortion?" It was because I was afraid that I didn't have enough money to support the child, or I was having relational conflict. That was another reason. Basically, so you compile all these, and they boil down to one common denominator: a lack of a male. A lack of a father figure, or he is involved, but he's pressuring her to get the abortion.
Yes.
Right. So almost all the reasons women choose abortion, come down to a man who's not exercising the role that he should be.
Right.
So anyway, but of course we're all like, duh, of course. Like if the man you love or had a fling with, whatever the circumstance, it says, I love you, I'm here for this baby, we're going to raise this baby, I'm going to take 3 extra jobs. Yeah. Of course, most women would be like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, totally.
Continue.
So after I met with the father, I decided to go to a pregnancy clinic to help me kind of navigate and process everything that was going on. And that's when Betsy had just become the director of that pregnancy clinic.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I have great compassion for someone facing an unplanned pregnancy. It's like you're having to make these decisions that will affect the rest of your life. It's like motherhood is a lifetime decision, right? Or adoption. That's like something that's going to affect you forever. Can I raise this child financially? I'm a starving student trying to get through college, and will I finish college? And
you're being pressured to have an abortion.
And society says I have the answer to all of those problems, abortion. Yep. And so women are very vulnerable at that time. They're making emotional decisions, and so I think the pregnancy clinic is so important.
Yep.
Amen. in these situations.
So were you still contemplating abortion when you went to Network Medical?
I wasn't really.
Or did you give your boyfriend the bird or what?
Yeah, I just.
Were you pissed or were you scared and pressured?
I think I was just an emotional wreck. Yeah. Kind of,
Because you were what, 20, 19, 20?
No, actually I was older.
You were 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was older, and I had kind of my life mapped out of like
Yeah.
what I wanted to do. Like when I was younger, I was figuring everything out, and now I knew what I wanted to do. So I went back to school.
Wow.
And so then I'm left, you know, with like, I know what I want to do now. And
Yeah.
now my life is over,
Wow.
you know? So, for me, abortion had never really crossed my mind, but then it would have been easy to get pressured into doing something or convinced into doing
Yeah.
something when you're so vulnerable, so emotional,
Yeah.
and the world is telling you to act on, you know, a feeling,
Yep.
or, you know, and here's the answer and it will be over, and
Yep.
all these things. So, you know, pregnancy clinics are life affirming,
Yeah.
and they offer resources and counseling. And so I went there, and, you know, after, like, for me, like, what made me kind of choose life was, you know, I was tired of going my own way and making decisions that were of the world. And for me, I wanted to honor God, and then I wanted to
Yeah. Amen.
decide what was best for my child.
It was
You know,
almost
it's
like a wake-up call, kind of.
yeah, and it's crazy to think, like, once you're pregnant, like, I was already a mother.
Yep. That's right.
You know, so I'm not thinking of myself now, and that's what people want to say, my body,
Yeah.
my choice.
Yep.
You know, and they're thinking for themselves, when really it's like, no, you're a mother. Like, I have to do what's best for my child as well, and what's empowering to me.
Yep.
You know, so I think sometimes when something is difficult, isn't necessarily mean it's not going to be empowering
That's
for
right.
you in the
Yeah.
long run. You know,
Amen. Yeah.
so
Well, everyone who's walked through trials and desert seasons,
Yeah.
you know, you see this in scripture too.
yeah,
You know, look back and at that season and see how God actually used that
yeah,
to not just shape them into who they are today, but to actually make them stronger.
yes,
Right. That
Yeah.
that like God is with you in those hard seasons.
Yeah.
And you come out of it way stronger and more equipped
Yeah.
for what he's called you to than you would have had things remained cush, comfortable,
Right.
and chill. You
Right.
know?
Right.
So
Well, they make it sound so easy. It's just like an appointment. You go in there for like an hour, it's done. But then the effects on your life after that, it changes like the entire rest of your life, because you have that shame and that guilt, and then
Yep.
also, I mean,
and also
It's
you
incredible.
you're not
what-
you're not
yeah.
letting the Lord work through your life, and I feel like
That's
the Lord
right.
blesses you when you accept what He's giving
that's
you.
good. It's incredible what 30 minutes of your life can do to you
Yeah.
when you make the wrong decision. So you
Yeah.
chose life.
Yeah, I
And
chose
Cheyenne is
Yeah.
the product.
Yes.
Cheyenne was born when?
Yeah, she was born May 8th. And I went to, you know, one of the things that I needed was housing. I mean, I literally didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to live. I was
Wow.
putting myself through college.
Wow.
And so I show up a total wreck at this pregnancy clinic, and they started just, they offer so many resources. And so one of the things they found was housing.
Yeah.
And so I was able to kind of finish another year of school. It's like I was waddling to my classes, but I was able to finish that year.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I had Cheyenne in
And
May.
the father, did he completely peace out or did he come back around?
Yeah, I think,
Once I was born and he saw like, okay, she's alive, she's here. He
Yeah.
was like, I want to be a part of her life now.
Good.
But
Okay.
I mean, it was a difficult year. I would actually, there was one instance where I actually passed him on the street, like, and
Really?
I didn't exist.
Wow.
So it was,
Wow, that's hard.
yeah, I mean, it was all these things that were actually good for me in the long run.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it was
Right.
very difficult.
Yeah.
And the Lord was reminding me that He is my Father. Like,
Yeah.
He's going to take care of me. And,
Wow.
you know, I think one of the lies also that I hear a lot, or something people bring up a lot, are, well, if I choose life, are you going to financially provide for it? And it's just kind of so funny to me.
Yeah.
Because that obviously was a huge concern, but there's so many resources. Like I had such a hard time providing for myself and paying for college on my own. And then, once I had Cheyenne, I was given money to finish college. And,
But I thought pro-lifers were just pro-birth, Amanda. I thought pregnancy resource centers just wanted the baby to be born, and then they pieced out and said, we hate you, figure it out.
Yeah,
that wasn't your experience.
No, it wasn't. They
Incredible.
threw me a huge baby shower. They furnished my apartment.
Wow.
They helped me move in. They provided dinners after, I had Cheyenne and brought her home.
Did you ask Planned Parenthood or the local abortion center that, hey, you say you're pro-choice, so I'm considering the choice of life, and just wondering how you'll help me in planning my parenthood? Were they providing any resources if you chose life for Cheyenne?
No, definitely not.
Really?
That doesn't make them money.
So it's almost like there's only one choice they're interested in.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know this, and you know this, but these are the lies that we hear circulated in the culture, and you're hearing those a lot on social media right now, by people saying, because they're all pissed off that Roe v. Wade's overturned, right? So they're saying, okay, so some of these babies are going to have to be born. So what are you going to do for them, right? And it's like the answer from pro-lifers is like, well, firstly, we're not going to kill them, okay?
I mean,
how about that? Like
Planned Parenthood, their only choice they profit off of is abortion.
Abortions.
So of course they're not going to support a mother who's asking for money just to bring another life in the world.
Isn't it funny how angry they all are right now, guys? Because they tell us that abortion is only 3% of their services.
Right, and then every single Planned Parenthood is just like shutting down the minute Roe v. Wade's overturned.
You're only losing 3%, which means you have this awesome opportunity with Roe v. Wade getting overturned to really focus in on those 97% of other services and really enrich yourself. Oh, wait. You're almost financially upside down. You're having to close centers. Yeah, because we all knew what a lie that 3% figure was.
Right.
So Cheyenne is born, and you're single momming it?
Yeah, I'm a single mom. I really wanted to go back to school. So I started applying for financial aid, and, I got, all these programs like WIC and EBT. I mean, that is difficult. It's difficult to feel like you want to be a successful career person, and then now you're on government.
You're dependent on the government.
Yeah, you're on an EBT card. And so for me, I knew that this was temporary, but it was something to get me, on my feet and be able to continue to pursue the things that I want. And so I did go back to school. There's also, childcare available. So there's lots of resources, and, I met my husband when Cheyenne was 9 months old.
Wow.
So
she was that young.
Yeah. So
I forgot.
He's never missed a birthday.
Amazing.
First steps, like first words.
Yeah.
And then on her 1 year birthday,
Which is also like Mother's Day, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah. It was Mother's Day this year.
Really?
Her birthday was on Mother's Day this year.
Same weekend as Mother's Day. It falls on Mother's Day.
Yeah. So, and then on her 1 year birthday, I graduated with my BA alongside of my future husband.
Wow.
So it was like God was taking all my brokenness and really rewriting my story into something beautiful, which doesn't happen unless you trust him, and you start making good decisions.
Yep.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah. So now I have this.
And how old were you, Cheyenne, when they got married?
I was 3.
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
Sadly, I don't remember. I mean, it would have been amazing. But
well,
like,
there's probably pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And and then to fast track a lot, you guys moved to the area from Santa Barbara like a year and a half or something like that, a year ago. And so you're involved here. And Cheyenne, you're very involved with the Love Life Ministry here.
Yeah.
With
I mean, I'm
prayer
trying to get
walks.
more involved. It's like.
And you even have built out a pro-life Instagram account, and you're very involved. So I mean, kind of shifting now, I think I let your mom talk for too long. Cheyenne, I guess, when did you learn your story and your mom's story? When did she share that with you? And like, what was that like hearing,
Yeah.
or if you were very young, you can't remember being told when you were older, like, what was that like to be like, wow, like
Well,
you have a
yeah.
relationship with your biological dad now, but like to hear that as a kid or however old you were when you told her, Amanda, to hear that like, wow, like my dad wanted me dead.
I mean, I think the part where he wanted me aborted was kind of like told to me a couple years ago, but knowing that I was an unplanned pregnancy was never really like a closed subject. I kind of always knew like, okay, like I do go to my biological dad's house every month.
Yeah.
So I knew what had happened. It had just never really been like anything important to me because I don't know. It had never really registered how nobody else really had that around me.
Yeah.
And then I think I was like 12 when I finally understood like, hey, like abortion is a real issue. And I learned like I could have been aborted. And that was something that kind of just clicked and was like,
Whoa.
oh my gosh, like
It's heavy.
I might not have been here if my mom hadn't like chosen life. So that kind of like inspired me to start working on doing whatever I can to help other mothers in that situation,
amazing.
knowing that like people like me wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing, you know, to say you're pro-life and to say you're against abortion, because we know lots of people like that, pastors, Christians, they say they're pro-life, but then you turn around, they vote for Democrats who uphold
Right.
abortion, or they say they're pro-life, but they say, except in case of rape or incest or whatever, and you're like, we're like, I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Life
to
isn't
quote
debatable,
Princess Bride.
yeah.
Like, I don't know, you're not pro-life like I'm pro-life, but
Right.
it's another thing when it's
Right.
actually like part of your story.
Yeah.
You know, so I have like friends like Melissa Oden who are abortion survivors. Like they actually survived
Botched
the
abortions,
procedure.
Yeah.
But even if it's not that intense, learning that my life was actually in one
It
way
was on the
hanging in the
line,
balance, you know, and
Yeah.
like, you know, you know, your father could have tripled down and really pressured you and hounded you
Yeah.
and manipulated you.
Yeah.
And some men get physically abusive
Yeah.
if the woman doesn't get the abortion. Like to hear that and to learn that story, like whoa, like
Yeah.
that obviously is going to
Yeah.
make you pro-life in
Yeah.
a way that the rest of the culture
Right.
isn't when
Yeah.
they say they're pro-life. And so it's an incredible story.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So you start a pro-life Instagram account. You've
Yeah.
done sidewalk counseling. You've stood outside of abortion centers.
Yeah,
You've held
she
signs.
makes-
You've prayed.
she
I-
makes care packages.
Yeah. I
for
like
women.
it's like just things like pamphlets, resources,
Yeah.
because we have like a pregnancy clinic in town that we're trying to get running. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, she's
So,
very educated.
just
And
in-
you're on the
informing them.
board of a
Yeah.
local pregnancy resource center.
yeah,
now,
I
Amanda.
just joined
Amazing.
Ohana Health. Yeah, so that's exciting.
That's so cool.
I'm excited to see what that does in this community. You know, just hopefully it can be kind of like a city on a hill.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So Cheyenne, what is it like with your generation? You go to a wonderful church, obviously, but you must know young people who are pro-choice or who are not sure what they think about the topic, especially right now with this being one of the probably the
We are the
single
post-Roe
greatest topic
generation,
being
yeah.
talked about right now. And you know what the secular culture is telling your generation, Cheyenne, and what Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and AOC are saying. They're saying, oh, these pro-life Republicans are setting women back 150 years. I think Nancy Pelosi said the other day when Roe versus Wade was overturned, she said this feels like such a slap in the face to women.
Right.
So do you feel like they're slapping you around, and do you feel like
No,
you've been
you
set
know
back
what?
150 years? Like, what would you say to young people
Yeah.
of your age group who are crying that women don't have rights anymore?
Yeah. If anything, it's empowering to know that there are people there that are willing to embrace the life that you're bringing into the world, and not just disregard it and say, we'll just get rid of it. You know, there's actually people there that want to support you and follow you through with giving you resources and things that you need instead of doing a procedure. And yeah, I think we're definitely moving forward in that decision to overturn Roe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had asked Cheyenne that question because that comes up a lot. You know, are we moving? You know, a lot of people are like, why are we moving backwards? And she's like, we're not. We're moving forwards because now we're giving rights to children.
Yep.
You know, and so that's amazing, and that should be celebrated. You know, that we're so we have all this scientific technology
Yeah.
that now we can see that it is a life at conception. Science says this is a life at conception because that's when your genetic code is created.
If anything,
You know?
biology is moving forward and understanding when life starts.
Yeah.
I mean, we say women's rights, but we
Yeah.
never say when they start. And so I think it's so important
Yeah.
to just, at conception,
That's
it is a
right.
woman.
Yep.
Right.
That's right.
So
And the attack is like these Christians, well, that's science says it's a life. Christian says that life has value.
96% of biologists say life begins at conception, but 85% of them are still pro-choice.
Yeah.
It's just,
That's
Yeah.
right. Look at you spitting off stats.
So,
That's true. I know the study you're referring to. And actually, I met the guy behind that who kind of compiled all of the
Really?
data. And he got some serious heat.
yeah.
Yeah.
And hatred for simply, it's funny, he didn't even take a position. He just compiled,
True.
and spoke to, biologists and doctors and
Right.
stuff and
Right.
embryologists all around the country
Yeah.
and came up with that figure. 96% agree that human life begins at the moment of conception.
Yeah.
So it was just compiling data, and like
Yeah.
people were like, "Oh, we hate you."
Well, how
It's
much
like,
would
it's because
truth
we all
offend
know
you?
they're
Yeah,
babies. We
if-
all know they're human beings.
Yeah.
If your argument isn't based on truth,
Yeah,
how much
that's
is
right.
that going to offend you when the statistics come out and they're against you?
yeah.
So what's it like, Cheyenne, being 14 and using social media, the digital marketplace, the public square today, to share pro-life truths, to share stories, to share statistics, and what kind of heat do you get from other friends? Do you see minds
Yeah.
changed, and what's that like?
So thankfully, most of the people that follow me are pro-life. Like, I don't really have too many family members that are like completely against me, hateful arguments, that kind of stuff. But they're definitely out there. I get notifications and they're just like bad words and cussing and like swearing and like I'm like, you're not even making any sense. You're just angered. But it is empowering to see how many young people and people with young, like, I can see their accounts and
Yeah.
they're just my age as well. And I don't share that I'm 14 on there, but they're still liking the posts.
Yeah.
And so it is cool to see how many people are out there that don't post anything pro-life on their personal accounts, but they are on the same side. So I think just encouraging them to
Yeah.
spread the word as well.
Yeah. Use their voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is an issue that's not going away. We were just talking about how California wants to write it in the Constitution.
Yep.
So it's something that we need to keep talking about. And
It's going to get worse here too.
yeah.
Yeah, they want to use their taxpayer dollars to reimburse women maybe coming out of Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
cover their travel expenses, their hotel, their food expenses, their abortion, and if necessary, to pay for their babysitter back home in a more pro-life state to watch her kids while she goes to California to kill her other kid. I mean, this stuff sounds so dystopian. It sounds like some like sci-fi
Yeah.
novel
Yeah.
in like a future 100 years from now, but it's
Yeah.
like happening here now.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that was another thing. Hearing my story, like hearing my mom's story of choosing life, it just makes you realize this is not something that happens like once a year. Like live action saying 2,363 babies are being killed every day.
Right.
One
And
in
they're
four
just
women, it's
reporting
just-
the stats.
Right.
It's probably greater than that because
Yeah.
states
Yeah.
are not required to report their abortion data, and it's also hard to track how many abortions happen through the medication abortion.
So it's not-
So it's
not
at
a
least
rare-
it's at least 2,300 a day,
Yeah.
which is unreal.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's just, I feel like when we start diving into, the actual like argument of it, there really isn't
That's
an
right.
argument of it. Like for my situation, like no one made me get pregnant. This was something that I did, and so it's like I needed to take responsibility. And we have an entire generation of individuals that do no longer, want to take responsibility of their actions. And so,
I think that's one of the reasons that my generation is pro-choice, because it's all based on feeling nowadays, and they don't really want to accept that they have responsibility, which I think is something that we need to change, obviously. But pro-choice really isn't. They say pro-life isn't the scientific they don't have scientific argument, but in reality, pro-choice is all based on feeling, and it's not empowering women because you're telling women that you need an abortion to be able to have what you want in life. Like my mom, she had all these plans and she still like was a missionary in Africa and has a family now, and is like on the front lines doing pro-life work. And she chose life, you know? So it's not empowering for women to have abortions because you're telling them they can't do it without it.
That's right. Look at that. I think you're doing a decent job as a mother there. Most pastors won't speak with that level of conviction and clarity, Cheyenne. That's incredible. Well, and actually, you're totally right, Cheyenne, and that's very insightful for you. And that's why I wanted people to just hear the hope that you represent for the next generation, because that's an incredibly insightful and powerful truth you just shared. Isn't that really it at the end of the day?
Yeah.
It's that, and excuse me for getting more specific and graphic here, but ultimately they want orgasms without responsibility. They want to have sex and they don't want to have any of the responsibilities.
Yeah.
I want pleasure. I want self-realization, self-fulfillment.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
And we know that abortions due to rape are less than 1% of the annual abortions.
Right.
So, okay, we're not talking about those right now. We're talking about literally almost every circumstance. What you're saying is, I don't want to deal with the actions or the consequences of my decisions.
Right.
It's all about you. And so abortion is like really the ultimate fulfillment of that first lie in the garden, when the serpent tells Eve, eat the apple, do it my way, because God knows that when ye eat thereof, your eyes shall be opened, meaning that they're not fully open. So God's holding out on you. He's withholding something from you. So eat the freaking apple, and you'll see real reality.
Right.
And then ye shall be as gods. I get to become like a god?
Right.
Wow, thanks, serpent. That sounds cool. Like, we all want to be as a god, because a god means you're powerful. A god means you're eternal, that you'll never die. You'll get to live forever.
Right.
And that's the enticing lie, is that we can find some alternative other way, not God's way, not the wise restraints that make men free, not the law, not the commandments. I can find my own way, and I don't have to deal with any of the consequences of my decisions,
Right.
because I'm going to be as a god. And if children have to be sacrificed in order for me to avoid responsibility, well, then so be it.
Yeah.
Because I'm my own God.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying, Shan, is actually incredibly insightful. But at the end of the day, that's really what you're talking about. And so abortion is also sort of this hatred of the natural world. It's this hatred of biology, because we believe as Christians and pro-lifers that there are moral duties that flow from biological ties. So you have sex, you create a human. That's a baby now in her womb.
Yes.
Now you have moral responsibilities that flow from that biology, those biological realities. The fact that when two men and when a man and woman get together, you might create a baby. And therefore, when that baby's there, you have to start changing how you're living.
Right.
And so it's so powerful, because you, Amanda, were actually this perfect prospect in the secular culture's mind for abortion.
Yeah.
You were a college student.
Yeah.
You were single. You weren't married. You weren't a trust fund baby.
A Christian.
You didn't have a ton of savings to float yourself through. You had just built out your dream life. And then you're pregnant. Like, you literally fit the exact kind of woman the abortion industry describes when they say she's the one that needs abortion.
Even being a Christian, like my mom was raised in a Christian home, like they think that Christians would be less likely to, and I hope they are, but having the shame and guilt of being a Christian and having a baby, you just want to get rid of it. So many people just don't want to have to deal with the church knowing about that. So the fact that my mom chose life and was like, you know what, her life's more important than what other people think about me.
That's right.
Well, I mean, even like my body, my choice, that is its own religion. Yeah. You know, that is a humanistic religion.
Yeah, it's
really.
the deification of the self.
Yeah. So.
Right. Peter Kreeft, the Catholic philosopher, once said that abortion is the demonic parody of the Eucharist, communion. That's why it uses the same holy words.
Yeah.
This is my body, but with the opposite blasphemous meaning.
Yeah.
So Christ says, this is my body broken for you. Take and eat in remembrance of me. And the culture of death says, no, this is my body.
Yeah.
My choice. So rather than accepting the broken body and shed blood of Christ for eternal life, the culture of death demands that we break the bodies and shed the blood of babies for eternal life, while claiming that it's actually just your body.
Right.
So you're actually totally right. It's this
Right.
humanistic deification of the self that says I can be as my own God, and ultimately my pleasure and self-fulfillment is all that matters.
Right.
And yet, how has that served women in America?
Right.
Generally speaking, men and women are more miserable, more medicated, more depressed.
Right.
And we have time to get into the conversation of the physical repercussions of abortion in terms of like early preterm birth and subsequent pregnancies, your increased risk of breast cancer, all these other things. We're the most medicated, depressed generation that there ever is.
Right.
And we're still claiming that we haven't fully realized the promises of the sexual revolution. Like,
Right.
no, I think those didn't come to fruition.
Yeah. Or even how it manifests itself in society. You know, it's like, I always quote, you know, I love Mother Teresa. She's, you know, she fought hard against abortion, and she used to always say the greatest destroyer of peace was abortion. That if a mom and dad can kill their own baby,
what is left?
Yeah.
But for us to kill one another.
Right. And how that manifests itself in society. Like, look at our society now. It's like,
I think she also said we shouldn't be surprised if we hear reports of wars and crimes and murder across the globe.
Yeah.
And then she said, for if a mother can kill her own child, what is left for us but to kill one another?
Right.
And so, and Dr. Mildred Jefferson, the first black woman to graduate from Harvard Medical School, who turned Reagan pro-life, and started the National Right to Life Committee before Roe versus Wade in 1973. She said, today it is the unborn child.
Yeah.
Tomorrow it is likely to be the elderly or those who are incurably ill. Who knows but that a little later it may be anyone who has political and moral views that do not fit into the new distorted order.
Wow.
So the longer we tolerate the oppression of the unborn, the sooner we'll find that oppression and tyranny comes home for us.
Right.
For those who murder the unborn cannot be trusted to govern the born.
Right.
And so you're dealing, Cheyenne, with the civil rights issue of our generation. And you're going to forever remember and be able to say where you were, what you were doing when the Emancipation Proclamation of our generation happened. It's not a perfect analogy because the Emancipation Proclamation freed all the slaves everywhere.
Right.
Roe v. Wade just sends it back to the states.
Yeah.
But the political significance of that date will forever be something that you can say you remember where you were, and your children and grandchildren one day, Cheyenne, are going to ask you when they now hate abortion as much as we hate slavery in America today. What did you do, Mom? What did you do, Grandma? And we're going to be judged by our children and our posterity for our actions or inactions on this issue. So anyways, hey, as we wind down, Cheyenne, I guess what would you say to a 14-year-old pro-choice friend or someone on Instagram who says that you hate women, you're a traitor to your own race, Cheyenne, you're betraying women, women need abortion to be equal with men, these confused, lost young women like you who have taken a very different route, probably didn't have as good of a mother and father as you. What would you say to your generation at this real turning point in American history?
I'd say, I mean, the goal isn't to take away women's rights. It's to give rights to everyone in our society.
Amen.
And if anything, we are empowering women with resources and help
Real choices
that they need. So choosing life, it's not taking away a woman's rights. It's bringing more women into the world to help us fight for the rights of everyone.
Wow, well said.
And I don't think pro-life is taking away women's rights as much as it is assisting and encouraging women to accept the consequences and building them to be stronger than
Which
they
makes
were
them better.
before the situation.
Because when you neglect your responsibility from your choices, you become more infantilized, more of a child, more of a petulant child in an adult's body. But when you accept responsibility for your choices, you mature and you become better for it. And you're an example of that.
Yeah.
What would you say to moms contemplating abortion, moms who have given life to some of their children but are still pro-choice and are pissed off that the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade? What would you say to your generation, Amanda?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that, life is a blessing. I have Cheyenne, and I can see how she has been my biggest blessing, and through that, so many more blessings. And I think, you want to make a decision that's going to benefit you and the child in the long run. And, with abortion, there's so much trauma behind that. So yeah, there's more options. There's adoption, there's, keeping the child. And so I feel like you just have to see past that emotional,
right.
That emotional thing of wanting to just like make it go away,
Right.
and I think that if you allow yourself to be refined, you end up a better person.
Yep.
So
Amen. That's right. And you miss out on the greatest adventure at all, which is being a parent.
yes,
Right. That really is the greater work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a work to get through so you can be an empty nester again.
Right.
It actually is the greater work.
Yeah,
It is the greater blessing.
It is crazy. As a single person, you're looking for purpose, and then once I had a child and was a single mom, it's like I found purpose.
That's right.
So
Plus the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
How amazing is it? That's the one thing that I feel like empowers women most. What can we do that men can't? We can literally create life and bring life to the world.
Now hold on, Cheyenne. Men can give birth too.
Sorry, but
we follow the science here.
I mean, we might have to have a whole nother debate on that.
No, you're right. And you said it earlier, Cheyenne, and I think we'll end the show with that. It's not empowering women to celebrate abortion and encourage them to put their career before their children, to sacrifice children so that they can have a career. It's actually incredibly dehumanizing. It's the ultimate anti-woman position, not just for the unborn females who were killed. That's not very pro-female for them, but also for their mothers who you were telling cannot be equal with men and cannot be fulfilled and cannot be equal and cannot be happy unless they pay someone to kill their child.
Right.
It's actually an incredibly anti-feminist, sexist view of women to think so little of women that they aren't inherently strong enough to adopt the responsibilities from their sexual choices, grow up, and preserve and protect a child that they brought into the world. And as we all know, pro-life is ultimately pro-woman. So
yes.
Thank you guys for sharing your story. Thanks
so
for
much
coming on the show today.
Yes.
And you guys are going to carry on an incredible work here at Godspeak as I'm leaving and moving the family to a new state and launching a new organization. But we have an incredible team here at the church, and we're excited to see how you guys continue to save lives, change minds, and change hearts.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys for tuning into the show today. Head on over to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Give the show a rating and review. Really helps us reach more people. It really does. We'd appreciate that. It drives it up the charts. More people see it. And then if you want to follow me online, go to TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Give us a share there. We're doing lots of reels, debunking some lies that are going viral right now about Roe v. Wade getting overturned. Cheyenne, what is your Instagram account called?
It's youthforlife.365.
Youthforlife.365.
Youth 4, like a number.
Number
four. Youth number 4 life.365.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the show notes, guys, but you should go follow Cheyenne's pro-life Instagram account. That's the marketplace of ideas today, and we need more young people sharing the truth, pushing back against these crazed abortion kooks who usually are more passionate about promoting death on these platforms than Christians are for promoting life. So give her a follow and share her content. Send her an encouraging note. And then if you want to get involved with Love Life, go to lovelife.org. Bring a chapter to your church. Bring me out to speak or preach, and we'll get a pro-life ministry started there, and you can start participating in the wonderful work that people like Amanda and Cheyenne are doing. If you want to book me for an event or see my speaking schedule, go to sethgruber.com, SETHGRUB as in baby boy ER.com, or to sign up for my newsletter and to join the White Rose Resistance, my new organization, go to thewhiterose.life, thewhiterose.life. Until next week, I'm Seth Gruber, and this is Unaborted.